Welcome to American Dreams. My guest today is Mark Sadovnick. Mark, welcome to today's show.
No, it's great to be here, Alan. Thanks for inviting me.
So, Mark, we're gonna get into your book in a little bit, on leaders who care. But before we do so, I wanna roll back and talk about your life path, how you got to where you are today.
How much time we got? So I was born in Royal Victoria Hospital. I can't remember the number of the room there, but just kidding. No, I'm from Montreal originally. C'est vrai, je parle français aussi, and love Montreal. McGill University, CPA, that whole gambit. Joined Deloitte. Big hockey fan, and this is a great time of year for hockey too. Playoffs. Big hockey fan. Learned a lot from sports with respect to where I am today. Spent a little bit of time at Deloitte, Montreal, and Toronto. Got recruited to largest private real estate company in Canada at the time in Winnipeg. Why not make a decision to go somewhere colder from Montreal to Winnipeg? That seemed like a really smart move. And while I was there, it was actually interesting. You learn along the way, Alan, and I can show you touch points of how I even came up with Leaders Who Care because of what happened along the journey. And so I found myself, was in a position, analysis, marketing, financial, whatnot. All the salespeople that were doing the real estate were actually having me come in all the time. And I finally, and they were making way more money than me. And I went to the CEO and said, I can do this. And they're calling me in anyway. So the first place they sent me to was the Mennonite community, where people were coming to my meeting in carriages and cars. But the thrust of that was, we had such great discussions about what the opportunity was of investment with them. And when I didn't know anything, I just said I didn't know, and I have to find out. And we had discussions, and we made a deal. And it taught me authenticity and honesty. Actually, is a pretty good thing when you're talking to people, and they appreciate it, and they want to make a deal with people that they can trust on stuff like that. So that was the one milestone, if you will. But at the same time, I was involved in an organization called JC's, which is a global community leadership development, and happened to be the president of the chapter there. And the Winnipeg Jets at the time, because I love hockey and I got to know them players and whatnot, and they said, "Could you actually help us get more kids involved?" And so I did, and we brought in 3,000 kids in 4.5 days to a fan club that got noticed nationally and everything. And then they offered me my dream job to work for a pro hockey team. However, at the same time, JC's offered me to move me to Coral Gables, which is Miami, Florida, to be executive director of the global at the global headquarters, this global organization. And the only person that told me to take that job at 2/3 less salary was the president of the hockey team. Another leader who cares, basically. And one of my first ones was a partner at Deloitte that helped me get out of all the audit jazz. I stopped saying crap, all the audit jazz and whatnot, and get into more heavy duty, working with clients type of scenarios. So different people along the way. So I did take that, moved down to Florida and traveled around the world. Met a lot of great leaders, met a lot of sucky leaders too, to be honest. And, really learned what it took, what make leaders successful. And another aspect of Leaders Who Care out there, that they realize that, if they do that, they'll, their businesses, their people, their communities will do way better. Did that for a while, then got introduced by an Ernst & Young partner to what became a partner in executive search. And I've been doing executive search for years now. And if I go fast forward to complete, quick story, then we built up that business quite well, nationally, even internationally. I ended up coming to California because I have 3 boys and a daughter-in-law, and she's definitely my favorite of all 4 of them. We ended up coming to LA because my 2 younger boys got noticed for modeling and acting, and built a business there. And then, I was asked to join one of the top 15 global search firms, and I did reluctantly, but I said I got to do it a different way. I work with leaders who really do care because it's good for their business. And last thing I did for them was we had a global conference recognizing Leaders Who Care, recognizing individuals that were spectacular in what they do, recognizing Girl Scouts, participant media. But after the conference, some partners came up to me and said, caring is just a little too intimate for us, a little too intimate for business. And I said, really? Well, that's what we talked about. And I said, if you're worried about that, you're going to go crazy when I start using the word love in business. And so then he did. And so I sold my share there, and we created Fifth Element Group, me and 4 other partners, which is what we do now. And we're founded on the premise that leaders and their organizations, whether it's for-profit or what I call social profits, I don't call them nonprofits anymore, social profits and foundations, can do way better when they're doing good at the same time. And give you a quick sense of what we do with that is we work with leaders who really do care, and we help them amplify the impact that they care about around the world, whatever that may be. It could be water, it could be diversity, it could be innovation around these sustainable development goals. For a good ROI, for employee engagement, we create omni-wins, which is basically once we have a client that's retained us, we'll bring in another company, a social profit, maybe Nobel Peace Prize, maybe UN, to get an omni-win together around the same impact and blast it out that everybody does really well. What that allows us to do is then represent those clients as truly leaders who care, with proof that they care, and that helps us attract the very best talent to those organizations, because the talent wants to go where they can make money and they have purpose at the same time.
In your business, so there's a couple of things you have going on. You do executive search, and then you're also aligning philanthropic goals or mission statements with individuals. How do you get everything in sync, everything aligned with what you're doing there?
Well, it's a great question, and it really applies to corporates, social profits, family offices, et cetera, that maybe have companies as well, that they are investments they make. What we've absolutely found was leaders who are making an impact one way or another, leaders who actually care about the financial, physical, and mental well-being of the people that work with them, for them, partner with them, always do better in attracting the best people. And if you attract the best people, then that is usually good for your economic and social impact too. So I'll give you an example. We are doing a major initiative on food security right now. We brought in Tony Robbins, we brought in Forbes, we brought in innovative companies that are innovative leaders around the world that have innovations to help food security. Well, we started this challenge called the 100 Billion Meal Challenge. Everybody from the International Pasta Association to shipping companies to whoever have participated in. We're up to 70 billion meals now that have been either distributed or grown around the world, that are making a difference out there. And as a result, the businesses we work with, the family offices we work with, are getting a good return on whatever they're investing in, whether it's marketing dollars or HR dollars or philanthropic dollars, or blended dollars. It helps them. It helps them in their reputation, in their brand, in their ability to attract and keep the best people, and in reputation for consumers, even to buy from them.
Mark, in the world that we now live, AI and tech is just rapidly advancing all over the workplace, the workforce, and throughout leaders. How are you seeing the impact of AI in your field?
Yeah, it's the number one question these days, ethics and whatnot. And we're not going to really regulate AI per se, but we can manage how people use it. So what we're talking to a lot of people at, and healthcare is one industry where it should hopefully have the biggest positive impact of all, is the way we're focusing with clients and individuals on developing their best, what used to be called soft skills that we're calling power skills now. AI should be able to take on and can take on so many different tasks, can bring so much knowledge to the table. Let's say, for example, a doctor, and we do a lot of work in healthcare, can get and access tons and tons of knowledge and information for a particular patient. Nurses don't have to spend as much time on putting information into tablets and can really spend time with the patient. Same thing can happen, by the way, with with any company where their salespeople, their CEO gets much more information, can maybe have more employee engagement because of that, more time on the human things that are needed. So how we're looking at that, clients are looking to attract now and also train on skills all their people on what we're calling the power skills, which are how do you create better teams that work together? How are you motivating your people? How are you training them on skill sets that are the skill sets that AI can't take, the humanity skill sets. I'll give you an example of a very high, used to be the vice chairman of Royal Bank of Canada. He's actually now a Canadian senator. And he said to me, what's really important is there's a difference between walking around in your office and saying hi to people like that, or stopping at their door and saying hi, or being able to sit down for 2 minutes in their office and look them in the eye and say, how's it going with you and your family? That you now have made the time to do that. That'll make a difference for those people to really care about the way they work and be proud of where they work and to make a difference, where they work. So in the search world, then what we're working with clients on is skills training, specific skills training that they need, and identifying where they can get that and how they can truly be engaging in things that are important, that they can go home to their families. And instead of saying, man, work sucked today, or I'm bored, or give me a beer, I'm going to sit on the sofa, they can say, hey guys, come sit around. I want to tell you what really happened today at work, the difference we're making, the bonus I can probably get, how I got noticed by the boss, whatever it may be, positive stuff rather than just work.
Mark, the organization JCs, can you give us a little bit more in-depth, view of what exactly JCs does and their mission statement?
Well, JCs, okay, that's how I came to the States. Is I got recruited by JC National. It's an organization that I got turned on to as a volunteer initially when I was in Canada, and they teach leadership development by community development, very much so. So, and it's for people under 40, and so that was really the mission. How do we train young leaders? Before internet, before all this stuff about sustainable development goals and all that, to be leaders in their community, which would be training that would allow them to move in their own business or another business because they knew how to do teams, they knew how to do budgets, they knew how to do sponsorship. I'll give you a quick example. I interviewed a guy probably 15, 20 years ago. It's funny, he had his resume and it says Santa Claus Parade on the very last line. And he was telling me, I really don't have a lot of background. How am I going to get hired? I don't really have a lot of experience. And I noticed he had Santa Claus Parade on the bottom. Now, why it caught my eye, I was I think the first Jewish guy to run the Santa Claus Parade in Winnipeg, Canada, actually. So I knew about community stuff, but about Santa Claus Parade specifically. So I said, dude, just tell me what you did there. He said, well, I had to put a budget together. I had to go in front of the city. I had to speak to companies to get sponsorship. I had to, manage them as to who went where in the parade first, because they were arguing about that. And what happens if it rained? What are we going to do about that? What happens if Santa didn't show up? What are we going to do about that? I said, yeah, you don't really have a lot of experience organizing stuff, do you? But he really did. So that's what JCs through community development did that. And I met amazing leaders around the world that were interested in young leaders. Even back then, this is in the 80s, presidents of South Korea, the head of Goldman Sachs in London, that were interested in young leaders because of a talent pipeline. What's interesting about that is right now with Fifth Element, for example, I was just with a fellow by the name of Dean Kamen, who's the founder of Segway. You probably know of him. And he's got an organization called First Global, which is about training young people on robotics. We just trained his management team actually at the Greek embassy a couple of weeks ago on non-flict, which is a big initiative we're involved in on how to look at conflict in a different way to move forward in a positive way, especially needed right now. But here's the thing. They have kids being trained, young people, not kids, teenagers in that realm, learning robotics, learning STEM stuff. And then they have the Olympics, they call it, of 190 countries, each sending a team to the Olympics for that. And 3 countries have to work together in collaboration, which is where non-flict also comes in. But the point of that is that's another talent pipeline. Similar to JC's, companies are looking and need specified talent. And it's from programs like that create and develop the talent that are going to be the leaders in a fast-moving tech world right now.
What advice would you give to a young professional aspiring to become an impactful leader in their respective field?
Yeah, find something, some cause that they really have a passion for, that they think is really important, and it could be, God forbid, a disease. It could be a community effort. It could be cleaning the oceans. It doesn't matter. What do you have a passion for? And be involved. And from that, create great relationships. Relationships are, as we all know, one of the most fascinating, one of the most effective, one of the best things you can have long term. And maintain those relationships as best as you can. And always be, this is a common saying, always be more interested in them than necessarily interested about yourself. It is true that what did Maya Angelou say is one of my favorite quotes. Most people will forget what you said, forget what you've done, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I even had a webinar once, stop looking for a job, but just be interested in what other people are doing and opportunities will come about. That's what young people should do. Relationships make an impact. You'll feel great. It'll make the energy you come with will make other people feel great, and great things will happen.
Mark, if a person wants to get more information and working with you, how would they go ahead and contact you?
Call Alan. He's got my phone number. No, I'm just kidding. fifthtelement.group on the web, or you can look me up on LinkedIn, Mark Sadovnick, or ping me, whatever it takes. We're always open to talking to leaders. We have a Leaders Who Care podcast as well. You can check it out. And just as a last note, we're now starting to recognize leaders 8 to 18-year-olds. And our first couple, one was a young girl at 10 years old, had written 4 books already. Another young lady's from Liberia, now in the States, started a skincare company so young people can feel empowered in their skin no matter what color they are or the shade. Young people are doing amazing things right now, so check that out as well.
Mark, it's been a pleasure having you with us today on American Dreams.
No, I loved it. Thanks, and keep making a difference, Alan.